The iPhone 17 Pro is exactly 7 grams heavier than the 16 Pro, so you will notice a few grams heavier. Now, day-to-day usage over the past 2 weeks, I've actually really noticed very little difference in weight between my previous model and the 17 Pro. So over the past 2 weeks, the only thing I've really noticed is that the phone does feel a little bit different in the hand. When you take it out of the case, it does have a slightly different feel to it, and the corners a little bit more cornered off, so to speak. So the phone feels a little bit smoother than the 16 Pro, which means that it does feel a little bit more kind of, in my opinion, premium and a little softer for day-to-day usage. I don't think you'll really have an issue with the weight or the actual form factor of the design. The one thing I will say is that the plateau on the back of the phone does kind of not interfere with my experience, but I am someone who kind of holds my phone in a specific way where my pinky and my back of my hand kind of collide with the plateau. And this hasn't really done anything with it. It actually sometimes makes it more stable in my hand, but it's just something I've had to get over because the past iPhones have never had a plateau where the camera actually expands over the entire back of the phone. In terms of the display, so we do have a 3000 nits brightness display on this current model. That is 1000 nits higher than before. So over the past 2 weeks, the phone has been a little bit easier to see in broad daylight. However, I wouldn't say this is something that is going to be a total game changer for you. It's more of something that might be kind of a nice surprise rather than something that's a complete substantial difference. So at the end of the day, the display for me, there hasn't been a ton of changes besides the brightness and the anti-reflective. So we're not looking at something that's completely new to really kind of analyze that further. The A19 Pro chip for me personally has been a subtle and kind of unsubstantial difference from the A18 chip on the 16 Pro. For me, day-to-day usage has been just a little bit more snappy. Games are definitely easy to play, and I would say overall the phone just feels a little bit more intuitive, snappy, and just everything is just a touch away, which is really not something that's I think has been significant. The only thing I will say that has been kind of noticeable is basically multitasking seems a little bit smoother on the 17 Pro, and that's probably due to the 12 gigabytes of RAM increase. However, I would not say that you're going to notice a huge difference unless you are coming from something like a 15 or a 14 Pro. So as far as the cameras go, the 17 Pro has a new camera system featuring 3 48 megapixel cameras, which is now touting an 8 times optical quality lens. The internet and Apple, and I looked it up a little bit, the research is stating that the new 8x optical lens isn't actually an optical lens of 8x. Apparently what it is from my research, and you can do your own research and find out too, is that what happens is the Fusion 48 megapixel camera is actually downgrading the megapixels down to 12, and then it's actually producing an 8x zoom. So it's not actually an 8x optical zoom, it's just 8x optical quality zoom. From my experience of the 2 weeks, the 8x zoom is phenomenal. I would not say that I'm really worried about it, and I think that this Apple marketing and people hating on it is just a waste of time. Sure, at the end of the day, it might not be an 8x zoom and you might not be getting an actual 8x zoom like a DSLR, but you are getting an 8x zoom that's good enough for most people. So if you are an average consumer, you'll be happy with this. Over the past 2 weeks, I've been able to catch pictures and images and videos that I think are revolutionary. The new 8x zoom is absolutely incredible, and for me personally, the only quality I've seen that lacks is low light, which we'll get into. So as far as the quality of camera here, my experience has been absolutely fantastic with the camera. The only thing I will say is that unfortunately in low light, the 8x zoom does not work super well. However, with daytime and basically anything else, the 8x zoom is absolutely great. In terms of the video quality, something that also has been added is the 16 Pro had this, but the 17 Pro I guess has it better. It is that there's now an optical image stabilization for your videos to make it look like it's cinematic when something is moving. So I have videos of my dog in the dog park here. I have a Bernedoodle. Here you can see the 17 Pro, how much of an image stabilization it does. So here you can see that it's fairly stable and actually pretty impressive. So over the 2 weeks, I've actually been very happy with the experience that I've had. Since I've had the phone for about a month, one thing I have noticed is the phone gets you really about a day and a half of full battery life. So if you are someone who is moderate to heavy usage or even on lighter usage, you're probably gonna expect more than this. Moderate to heavy users are gonna probably expect exactly what I'm showing you on screen right now. So as you guys can see on screen right now, the bottom line with my phone is that right now I'm starting the day at about 6 or 7 a.m. with about 100% to about 40 or 50% by about 7, 8 or really 9 p.m., really depending on the day and my usage throughout the day. Now, usage is really going to be text messaging, some Safari, some 4K video recording, some maps, GPS that is, and then some music, and most of the time my brightness is fairly high. I wouldn't say it's 100% all the time, but it is 100% for probably about an hour to 2 hours daily, every single day. As I sit outside, I do enjoy the sun, so that's something that's important to me. However, I will say that for me personally, the battery life has just been phenomenal and a big upgrade. So at this point, the battery, in my opinion, lasts about a day and a half. half. Now, if you are someone who heavily games, maybe you do 4K video all day, maybe you run a full-time channel, you might just get a day out of battery life. Now, I will say from the Apple website, it does say that it's the best battery life of any iPhone. I would have to agree with that. At this point, I think the battery life is that good to where it's really worth the upgrade. Now, I will say this though, is that the other iPhones on this lineup do have significant battery upgrades. Obviously, the iPhone Air does not have the battery upgrade we look at with the 17 and 17 Pro, but if you are someone who's concerned about the Pro with the thickness, the weight, and other things with the Pro that you might not need, or that you're looking at for the 17 gets significantly better battery life than the 16 from last year. So in terms of battery life, I think that it's more than doable for most people, and I think you're gonna be extremely impressed and happy. If you are someone who's maybe on a Pro model of last year, or maybe you've been thinking about the Pro Max this year, Pro Max has an even bigger upgrade in battery, and it's something that you really should consider, because if you are interested in that, then it's gonna be something that kind of changes the game for you. However, as usual, I say this in all my videos, please, please, please go to Best Buy or Apple before you buy a Pro Max. I don't like the Pro Maxes, and I'll never recommend them to someone unless you've had the Pro Max. Now, I wanted to go over this because this is something that I think is gonna help people out there who are buying the 17 Pro really make a decision. So this year there's a deep blue, a silver, and then an orange color. But I wanted to kind of highlight something before we end the video, is that the blue color is not something that I think is necessarily very obvious to the average consumer what it looks like in real day-to-day usage. They call it a deep blue, and the website and the actual phone box itself makes it seem like it's a very nice navy, deep, kind of ultra clean blue that I really liked, but unfortunately after using it for some time, this could just be a lighting thing or just me picking it apart, but I would have to say that the phone kind of does lean a little bit towards a purple, in my opinion, and it's not my favorite color. My ultimate goal with the phone is actually to put a black case on it after a while. I do have a clear case on it currently. This is an ESR clear case. I'm not getting any affiliates from ESR. I just liked it. It was $8, and it actually does a really good job. It has the MagSafe, but as you guys can see from what I'm showing you guys on screen, the blue is just not exactly a hard navy blue. I would just tread lightly if I were you guys, and if you guys are considering the orange or the silver, I'd go to a store and see what they look like before you actually make the purchase. So in terms of the vapor cooling system and the heat of this phone, there's been no issue with heat as far as that goes. I've had the phone for 2 weeks and been able to kind of test this under different circumstances, and I do live in somewhere that doesn't get super cold. And for me personally, I've had absolutely no issue with the heat. So as far as the scratch gate goes, I'm gonna just say this because it's important. I actually have no interest in trying that on my phone. I'm not gonna scratch my phone purposely just to get views. But at the end of the day, we do have a case on my phone, and that is what really matters, because I don't want any scratches, but I have not had any issues with scratches taking the phone out of the box into the case, or the minimal amount of time it's been out of the case. So at the beginning of the video, I talked about how the 17 Pro is exactly 7 grams heavier than the 16 Pro. The iPhone 17 Pro has been nice in the hand, and it's been, in my opinion, very similar experience to the 16 Pro, but I do think it's important to kind of cover this, is that the phone itself is thicker, heavier, and technically, I guess, taller by a very minuscule amount, but it's something that has kind of, I wouldn't say it's ultra noticeable, but if you are someone who's sensitive to this, or if you are somebody who's already kind of thought about going back to a thinner or maybe lighter phone, I would suggest going to the store and picking up the 17 Pro. What I'm going with this is that after holding the phone day in and day out and picking it up and using it day in and day out, I have compared this to the 16 Pro, and I have also thought about going back to something like a standard 17 model. Now this year I went for the Pro again because I am a Pro user. I do like the Pro features, but this has made me second guess, am I a Pro user, and are those extra features worth it for this weight and girth? So I suggest you guys think about this. I hope this helps you guys make a decision. At the end of the day, the niche that I would say this phone is for is someone who's really interested in the battery life improvement, the speed improvement, the camera improvement, and the display improvement. For me, is this all worth upgrading from the 16 Pro? Not necessarily from the 16 Pro. If your battery life is really kind of garbage on the 16 Pro or 15 Pro, I would upgrade it to 17 Pro. If other things in this video that have caught your attention are a reason to upgrade, then go for it. If you are looking for a year to upgrade, this might be it, because we do have some significant differences in things like display, camera, and battery life. So if you guys are looking for a reason to upgrade, here it is. The reason is are you unhappy with your battery life? Are you unhappy with your camera? Do you want the 8x zoom? And are you interested in that display that gets a little bit brighter and is a little bit more intuitive? Yes, this is a much bigger upgrade than we've seen in the past, so if that's your reason to upgrade, then go for it. Leave a comment below. What was your favorite feature discussed today? Are you getting the 17 Pro? Talk to me. Put your comments below. Talk soon. Peace.